So you're looking for answers to the question of how do I diversify my pipeline or how do I recruit more diverse candidates? Well, you're definitely in the right place. My name is Kemi Joseph. I am co-founder, DEI strategist at Fears Advantage, and we are on a mission to help 5 million business leaders increase equity in their organizations by 2030. This really will help to create more work environments where employees can be safe and thrive. And so we welcome you into that mission. And the reason we are working on increasing equity is there's so much happening in the world and people are trying to diversify, people are trying to practice inclusion, and we know that equity is this missing piece for a lot of organizations. So we focus on diversity, equity, and inclusion, and specifically making sure that DEI is approachable, actionable, and profitable. So that way it's a long-term part of your organization. So as we dive into recruitment, which a lot of people are figuring is one problem that they can tackle or one way that they can increase diversity in their organizations, I will start by saying, first of all, how are you defining diversity? Right, there's a lot that we could talk about just in that question alone, especially as you're seeking to diversify your pipeline. I would want to know, if we were working with you, what does that look like? What does that mean to you and your organization? And as you start to define diversity, because a lot of us are looking for like visual diversity. Can I see certain people? We're looking for cultural diversity and ethnic diversity. Can we see skin colors, genders, people represented? So it's important to define that at the top, and then also think about your intention for why you want to diversify. Because, for example, if you're not visually diverse, if you're not skin color diverse, if you're not alterability diverse right now in your organization, there's a reason that that has been the status quo. So as you're shifting it, it's important to be clear on why you're shifting it. And it doesn't have to be an altruistic, hey, we want to help everybody. For some people, it is that. And some people, it's more strategic because clients have been telling us, yeah, we're losing on deals because people are looking through our site and not seeing diversity. They're not seeing diversity in our higher levels, or they're not necessarily seeing diversity even at our lower levels in our employees. So it's important that you get clear, because if you are having that intention to really bring people in and kind of more from the altruistic perspective, awesome. If it's more of a strategic, I will also say that's awesome. This is important for you to know, so you can communicate it in an authentic way that's honest, because the worst thing you can do is recruit somebody for the wrong reasons. That becomes a problem for you and for them. So we would help you go through that process of getting clear on how you define diversity, as also your intention, so that way your recruitment process is actually aligned with those things, right? So that's the high level. And as we get into the more nitty gritty, I want to show you our cultural equity framework that we use to help people go through a process where we assess, strategize, train, and celebrate. So this will give you a complete action. So let's look at how this focuses on recruitment. So first, with recruitment, especially looking at your diverse pipeline, we want to assess. We always talk about assess before you make a mess. If there's something up with your pipeline, if your pipeline is broken, we want to assess that, as opposed to trying to cram more people into that, because it's going to make it worse for you. It's going to increase more conflict. It's going to increase the frustration. So we would want to know, checking out your postings and making sure your postings are equitable and inclusive, looking at where you're posting to make sure that you're actually intertwined with the communities that you are seeking to recruit from. We're going to be looking up to your interview processes and also how folks are asking questions and checking in on bias that happens in that interview process, right? Because something to consider is that for years, we've been hearing research about how people with diverse names have been totally ignored for job opportunities. Resumes not even considered because their names are diverse. So that's been happening for years. And that may have happened in your organization. You might have been a part of that, or you might not have been a part of that, right? We're not here to shame and blame. We're here to just acknowledge the truth that was happening, that it is still happening. So for all of a sudden that to switch and people to trust your organization, that's not even possible. So it's important that as we're talking about assessing, let's assess what has been happening, and then we can start to adjust it and do it in a way that is authentic to your organization, and also is going to start attracting the type of people that you want in your organization to strengthen the diversity as a whole. So that would be a snapshot of assess. And then when we start to strategize, then we're getting into where, again, are you posting your job strategies? Are you actually seeking to form relationships in those communities, right? If you're kind of a touch and go, hey, we're only here fly by night, we're only going to pop in when we need something, that's not how you build trust with diverse communities. So really, when I think about this question, I'm answering it from the perspective of how do we increase trust within diverse communities, or how do you specifically build relationships, trusting relationships with these communities to make sure that they see you as an ally in the journey and as an advancer in the conversation, so they know when they join your organization, they're going to be able to be safe and thrive. So when we're looking at strategy, we'll be looking at the job posting, looking at your hiring process, looking at your communication. How are you actually sharing this information, even sharing it internally? Which brings us to our next point, when it's focusing on when we have a strategy, especially around recruitment, how do we train our folks? Every single person that a potential recruit can talk to in your organization is part of your recruitment process. It's wild for us that we will talk to sales agents who are very disrespectful, or they are, doing microaggressions, and they're like the first line. Like when you call customer service, do I even feel like your customer service agents are being respectful to me, that they're welcoming me into your organization, especially as a paying customer, right? It goes as far down as those kind of things, because all that impacts the community perception and the individual experience of somebody who's looking at your organization. So let's make sure we're training our folks to be equitable, to be inclusive, to really see diversity as a strength. So we're training, when we're talking about recruitment, we can do a deep dive and just focus on the people who are the main touch points in your recruitment pipeline, your recruitment process. And we will also teach you how to broaden that perspective, because best case scenario, you do hire a diverse person, however you define that. And then what happens next? You're going to make sure that they're in an environment where people are going to embrace that, right? Because you hired them. So make sure that they get embraced, and that they also have a pathway to be a successful employee in your organization. And finally, we celebrate the process. And for us, when we talk about celebrating the process, we're not here to be like, hey, we hired our first Black person. That's not what we're talking about. We said we're on a journey to make organizations more equitable. So we're constantly celebrating those wins. So we play the infinite game from Simon Sinek, thinking about business as an infinite game. It's a long road. So every recruitment cycle you have is an opportunity to become more and more equitable, making sure that even in your one cycle right now, if you didn't happen to recruit, for example, a Black person, are you making your recruitment process more fair, more accessible, more inclusive? Because if you are, we count that as a win, because then maybe it's the second or third cycle that you start to see more diverse candidates, because they're seeing you as establishing trust in their community and in your operations as a whole. So just know this is a long game. Let's try to make a short video to communicate some of these pieces, but this is what we walk our clients through. And that was just a focus on recruitment. Right now, we're actually doing a full Q&A session on recruitment, because so many people are asking these kind of deep and intercomplicated and complex questions. So I invite you to the Q&A. The link is below. So depending on when you're watching this video, you can catch the Q&A live, or you can watch a replay. Either way, it's going to be valuable. So please go ahead and watch that video. And thank you for watching this video. And more importantly, thank you for seeking to increase equity in your organization. This is hard, but again, our goal at Fear's Advantage is to make it approachable, actionable, and profitable. So that way you can actually sustain the process and even enjoy it. So we look forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye.